So imagine we have this application, a very simple application. It has a main method. That's the starting point for the application. Inside here, we create a file writer, and from here we call writer.write. So the code loads with main, and then somewhere down here, we call writer.write. Now, it's at this point that the security check happens. Remember, back in the library, we're using the security manager here to check that we have permissions to write to this file. And we've said that the security check depends on the class and where the class was loaded from. Now, think about this. This class, our class, may not have permission to write to this file, so the security check should fail. However, we're using a file writer, and that file writer almost certainly does have access to this file. If the file writer failed the security check every time, then we'd never be able to access any file in the system. So what we need to happen is for the security check both to check this call on the stack frame and this call on the stack frame. So the thing below us on the stack frame, the file writer, has access, but the main method doesn't. So whenever we make any security check, we have to walk the entire stack frame and make sure everything in the stack has access to what we're asking for. Otherwise, there's just no point in making this check. So whenever we do any security check, the security manager, in fact the access controller, walks the stack and checks that everything on that stack has permission to do whatever we're currently trying to do. So we've seen already we have a policy file. That policy file grants permissions. We have code sources loaded into the policy object, and those code sources have permissions associated with them. And we know we have a secure class loader that caches these code sources and these permissions in this protection domain. So when a method call is made, and that method call ends up in a call to check permission, the access controller gets an array of classes on the stack with the security manager's getClassContext method. That's why in the previous demo, we created our own security manager, so we had access to this method. We could call getClassContext. And if you remember, getClassContext returns an array of class objects. And from this array of class objects, we can call getProtectionDomain and get all the protection domains. And then from the protection domain, we can get an array of all the permissions. And then we can ask each permission in turn, is what's being asked for here allowed at this point in time? The stack walk is a key part of the permission check in Java. Notice that we only permit the call if the entire set of permissions that we get here grant this permission. So let's go and do this. Let's go and look at setting permissions based on code location with multiple things on the stack, some of which will be allowed the permission, some of which won't.